Honey used to be trusted like medicine, not treated like candy. This is why medieval honey was a superfood, while now honey can be dangerous. For thousands of years, honey had a legendary reputation. People called it liquid gold. It was not just something sweet, it was something powerful. Honey preserved food. It helped wounds heal. It lasted for years without spoiling. Some ancient honey was even found sealed away for centuries, and it was still safe to eat. In medieval times, honey was part of daily life. Travelers carried it because it did not rot. Healers used it on cuts because it helped stop infection. Honey was not seen as empty sugar. It was seen as a natural tool that supported the body. But today, honey can feel different. Some people eat it and feel a quick energy burst, then a crash. Others feel heartburn or fatigue. And the biggest difference is that a lot of modern honey is not really honey in the old sense. It is often processed, overheated, filtered too hard, and sometimes mixed or diluted in ways that the label will not clearly explain. The bees lived a different life. Medieval bee colonies were mostly wild or semi-wild. People kept bees in simple hives like hollow logs or straw baskets. The bees built their own comb. They chose everything. Humans did not force them into a strict design. Modern beekeeping often does the opposite. Many bees live in standardized boxes with frames. Wax sheets guide how the comb is built. Queens are sometimes selected and controlled to push certain traits like high honey output or calmer behavior. This is not automatically evil, but it changes the system. When you control everything, you often lose diversity. Medieval bees were more varied and tough. Modern bees can become dependent on constant management, and when the bees are stressed, honey quality can suffer. The bee diet used to be diverse. A medieval hive usually had access to many plants, wildflowers, trees, herbs, shrubs, different blooms across the seasons. That variety mattered because nectar is not just sugar water. These compounds can include antioxidants and other substances that support the body. So medieval honey was not one note. It was complex. It had layers of flavor. It also had a wider mix of natural compounds. Now think about modern farming landscapes. In many places, bees are surrounded by huge fields of one crop. That means bees collect from fewer sources. The honey becomes more uniform and simpler, higher in sugars, lower in variety. And in some operations, bees are fed sugar syrup when honey is taken from them. Sugar feeding can keep bees alive, but it is not the same thing as letting them live on their own honey. Over time, this can affect the health of the colony and what ends up stored in the comb. Medieval beekeepers usually left enough honey for winter. They knew bees needed it. Medieval honey was not cooked. This is one of the biggest differences. Medieval honey was collected in gentle ways. People cut out comb, then let the honey drip at room temperature. Or they crushed the comb slowly and strained it through a cloth. No high heat, no fast machinery. That meant the honey kept delicate parts that matter, like natural enzymes, tiny bits of pollen, and trace compounds from plants. Modern commercial honey is often heated. It is done to make honey runny, so it moves easily through pumps and filters. It is also done to delay crystallization because many shoppers think crystallized honey is bad. But heating can damage the very things that make honey special. Enzymes can break down, aroma compounds can fade. What remains is still sweet, but it can become less active and less complex. So the honey becomes more like syrup. Honey today is filtered so hard it loses the good stuff. Nobody wants bee wings in their jar, but some honey is filtered so finely that it removes pollen, and pollen matters. Pollen contains nutrients. It also carries clues about where the honey came from. When pollen is removed, honey becomes harder to trace. That can be convenient for an industry that blends honey from many sources or wants a uniform product. But for you, it means you may be losing part of what made honey a superfood in the first place. Storage practices changed over time too. Medieval honey was often stored in containers that protected it from too much heat and moisture. It was kept cool and sealed. it aged slowly. Modern honey can sit for long periods in warehouses. Heat exposure during storage can further reduce activity and flavor. So even if the honey started out decent, it can become weaker over time. All this matters to your body. Even medieval honey had sugar. The difference is how the body experiences it. Traditional honey came with more than sweetness. It carried enzymes, pollen, plant compounds, and natural complexity. These parts can slow the sugar hit and change how the body responds. When honey is heavily processed, it can act more like a fast sugar source. Blood sugar rises quickly. Then energy drops and hunger returns. Some people feel tired or foggy after. And if honey contains residues from pesticides or antibiotics used in some types of industrial beekeeping, that adds another burden. Your body now has to deal with more than sugar. That is where the danger idea comes in. That modern honey can become a misleading food. It is sold as a health product, but it can behave like candy in your body. Medieval people used honey in smarter ways. They did not squeeze honey onto everything all day long. Honey was valuable, so it was used with purpose. It was used as a remedy, a preservative. It was seasonal and local. Different honeys were known for different uses. Dark forest honeys, light flower honeys, strong ones, mild ones. People paid attention to where it came from. Today, most people buy one jar labeled with a vague name and expect it to taste the same forever. That pushes the market toward uniform honey, which often means more blending, more heating, and more filtering. If you want honey that is closer to the medieval version, there are a few simple signs to watch for. Look for honey labeled raw, which usually means it still contains its natural enzymes. Lightly filtered or unfiltered honey is another good sign, and a bit of cloudiness is completely normal. Crystallization is also a positive signal since real, unprocessed honey naturally turns solid over time. Choosing local and seasonal honey increases the chances that it comes from diverse plants and has not been blended or overprocessed. Finally, pay attention to taste. Real honey is not just sweet. It has layers of flavor with floral, herbal, slightly sharp, or even earthy notes that change as you eat it. Medieval honey was not magic because people believed in legends. It was powerful because the system protected its natural qualities. Bees had diverse food. Honey was harvested gently. It was not cooked into lifeless syrup. It kept pollen and enzymes. It stayed connected to place and season. Modern honey often loses those qualities for one reason: efficiency. Faster processing, longer shelf life, a cleaner look, a consistent taste. That consistency can cost you the benefits. So, is honey dangerous now? It can be, depending on what you're actually buying and how you use it. But real honey still exists, and when you find it, you understand why people once treated it like treasure. Medieval honey was a superfood because it was alive, complex, and honest. Many modern jars are not. If you want the old benefits, you have to choose differently. Look for raw, look for local, and treat honey like a powerful food, not a free-for-all sweetener. Because when honey is real, it doesn't just taste good. It acts like the ancient remedy it was meant to be.